I finished my first Regulation J season.
No kidding,
Yeah,
really?
I was 7,000th rank in Master Ball or something like that. So very, very low. But I did finish with an above 500 record. I was like 38 and 35 or something like that.
What's an above 500 record?
I think 500 maybe comes from sports or something. More than 50. I won 38 games and I lost 36 games. So more than 50% I won, which I was happy about for my first thing ever.
No, that's great. Going positive is always great. Yeah.
I'll take that. That's it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Nice. So the next regulation, is it the same format then?
Same format. It's just a new season now. But I did get an ability patch last time with
that was your reward, was an ability
with
patch?
a couple other stuff too.
They are so generous about what they're giving away now. I used to get like 50 battle points for being Master Ball tier.
No, yeah. We got a whole bunch of like in-game stuff now from it. It was cool. This podcast is brought to you in part by Dragon Shield. Use code PLAYTOWIN5 at the affiliate link down below for 5% off to help support the show.
Welcome to the Play to Win podcast, where we talk about winning in cEDH. I'm Cam.
And I'm Dylan. This week we're talking about our most recent Play to Win at cEDH. Nope, cEDH tournament. What was it called? The Play to Win cEDH tournament at Cloud City Games 9, right?
Is that it? Only 9?
It's the 9th one, I think. I thought it was the 11th. I'm pretty sure it's the 9th.
I've lost count at like 6.
Yeah, we've done
yeah,
quite a few of them. We're going to do a quick tournament recap of how our tournaments went.
Yeah, so what deck were you playing?
I was playing Terra, 5-color, Underworld Breach, Ad Nauseam. I took out Food Chain stuff like at the last minute. I was like, this is actually probably not good. I like Food Chain, but I want to do well at the tournament. So I took out Food Chain and Squee and Destiny Spinner and so one or two other things that kind of like helped with that strategy. And I said, let's just put in good cards. So I put in stuff like Smothering Tithe and Into the Flood Maw, which wasn't in there. I took out Shifting Woodlands and I added back in Otawara because Otawara is just so good and Shifting
Untapped
Woodlands
too.
Yeah, so I made those swaps, and a lot of them, if they did come up, they were positive. I was like, oh, thank God, this isn't fucking Food Chain. It's a Smothering Tide instead or something like that.
Nice.
But yeah, so I was on Terra. What were you on?
I was on Atali. I was playing enough Food Chain for the both of us.
Yeah, there we go.
Outside of us, Nate was there.
Nate was there.
We were the only play to win folks that were able to make it to this one.
Unfortunately, Tyler and Brandon weren't able to get to this one, but that's okay. They'll be at another one.
And Nate was playing
Blue Farm.
Of course. Yeah.
The tournament as a whole, I thought went really well for the most part.
Yeah, we had that one hiccup in the beginning where Spice Rack was having issues the night before into the morning of, and Aaron unfortunately
had to vocally announce every person for round one and pair us up like that.
Notably because he was also having a printer issue though too, because he was going to print them out on paper and then something else was going on. But that's because printers never work. Printers throughout history have been notorious for not working. So
I agree.
That's obvious.
Should we talk about how our first rounds went?
Let's just jump into round one.
Yeah, you first.
All right, I'll go first. So I was on the play for round one. I was up against Thrasios Krark, Ikra Brews, and Wandering Minstrel. This was Ikra Brews, you snooze, you lose. If you remember from
all
those...
This is that same idea of a list.
Yeah, and this guy's been on this list for a while, he was telling me, and it's been way better since I've moved off of it. But
I'm sure that makes sense.
My play was very simple. I went turn 1 Mana Vault, and then turn 2, I still had 7 cards in my hand, so I gambled for Treasonous Ogre, and I discarded Eldritch Evolution.
Perfect.
Which was beautiful. So now I have 4 mana with my next land. I cast Treasonous Ogre, and I say, that's a chunky. And Krark Thrasios just had Crimson Wisp to try to draw some interaction, but notably said they're not on Force of Will. So that made it a little bit easier for no one to have anything. And Wandering Minstrel mulled to like 4 or something this game too. So my Atali resolved, and I flipped into Food Chain, Wishclaw Talisman, and Desperate Ritual.
Good start for the day.
Exactly. Yeah, okay. That was enough mana to just go find Squee, Food Chain away my Atali, cast Squee, and then win the game right on turn 2 on the play.
Easy. That's incredible. All right, so your tournament begins with 1-0. You're feeling good.
Exactly. Yeah. All my luck just ran out. There's really nothing notable to even say about this game. It was just like the luckiest I could have been with spins.
Yeah, and no one had anything, which is great. That's good for you.
Which was great. Yeah. How was your first round?
I wish I remembered more. I'm hoping that when I read it, it's going to jog my memories. But this is what I have written down word for word in my notes. Thras, Tev, Kinnan, me, Rogsai. So that's the order. I'm third. Rog missteps a fish and then lets a Basalt resolve. So the Rog side player next to me missteps a fish and then lets a basalt resolve. Tev has removal for Kinnan because the Kinnan player just puts the basalt right in play.
Of course.
Kinnan lets it resolve, so I assume they have no interaction because they let the removal on the Kinnan resolve and they just pass their turn. I go for a line with Wishclaw Talisman and Breach. Roxai does in fact have Fierce, so when he said he could help, he could have Fierced the basalt. I put him on Deflecting Swat when he said that, but he actually did have Fierce. He just didn't want to. He was waiting for somebody else to do something about the basalt.
Oh, he's like, okay, I get you now.
So he does have the Fierce for me. I wasn't expecting Roxai player to have 2 pieces of interaction, which is why I just kind of like jammed and went for it. Then they go for a win. I asked them to play it out because their Breach line looks kind of tight because they cast Diabolic Intent and Lion's Eye Diamond was still in the graveyard, which means they would have to cast Lion's Eye Diamond again and then cast the thing that they search for. So I knew that it would take them a couple extra cards because they were like, I'm going to go find Brain Freeze and win, and I asked them to play it out. And then through a series of weird things, it ended up being really tight, and because he kind of like, it seemed like he almost missed sequences, he kind of just had to pass the turn.
Oh, wow.
Then they end up wheeling to recast Lion's Eye Diamond, and I asked to see the Tevish Shot player's interaction, so I will trap the Lion's Eye Diamond because I say, I'm not doing this if you, like, he said that he had something, but he didn't reveal to me what he had.
And he's still trying to pass priority to you.
Right, yeah. So I said, I'm not mind break trapping the Wheel of Fortune unless you tell me what you have. So what he showed me that he had was Misdirection, which is particularly terrible because my thing that I wheeled into was a Brain Freeze of my own as well as a Final Fortune, thinking that, okay, Roxai builds up a huge storm so I can Brain Freeze myself, hope to hit Savine's Reclamation. Underworld Breach is already in there because it got Fierce Guardianship, and maybe I can Final Fortune in between turns.
Oh, okay.
But then once I see the Misdirection, I know my line doesn't work anymore.
Oh.
That strategy isn't good. So I say, okay, I guess I shouldn't try to do this because the Misdirection is there. I still end up mind break trapping the Wheel, thinking that I need to, otherwise the Roxai player can just continue on pushing and moving. Maybe I should have let that happen, but I trapped the Wheel. He says, okay, then I'm stopped. Tevish player untaps and just wins the game. I was kind of thinking that Kinnan would have something. Maybe I should have talked more with Kinnan, or maybe I felt like if I didn't trap here, he's like, the Misdirection didn't do anything. So if Roxai gets to continue to wheel with an Underworld Breach in play and Lion's Eye Diamond in the mix, we're dead. You know, someone else is going to have to find interaction at some point, or we're just going to be dead. So I feel like I had to do something, and then we just died at Tevish. There maybe is a world that I could have like talked and said like, do you want to draw? I'm not going to do this if you don't accept a draw or something. But I was like the first game of the day, and I just like wasn't thinking. I was just like, I don't want to die, so I'll mind break trap the Roxai player from winning the game, and then Tev.
And if you're not expecting Tevish to win in that spot then either, like, I think that's another good reason to make sure that like you have the mind break trap for the Wheel of Fortune then at that point instead.
Because otherwise, if he just keeps on going, eventually someone's going to have to interact somewhere, or it's going to be too late very quickly because Wheel is going to put too many cards in the graveyard, and it's not going to matter.
And all you need to do is win a round of Misdirection, which is like, oh, I can do that.
I'm thinking now, okay, now I have information. At least I can try to bait out a Misdirection and try to win myself. But it didn't work out, so I start the day 0-1.
Okay, but it's still super early, so you know there's still a lot that can happen.
I still felt good about the game. I felt like I played well. I felt like my reads were okay. I missed that like the Roxai player had a second piece of interaction, but that doesn't happen very often. And I kind of just like fell for the bait of like he said that he could do something, he could help, which normally I could help means that like he has a Flusterstorm or a Deflecting Swat or something like that.
That's what I normally think too.
And I think that on purpose he was trying to throw me like and it worked, and I didn't think Roxai would have 2 pieces of interaction.
No, once Roxai uses the first piece, I feel safe to push.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How did your match 2 go?
All right, so round 2, there was Timna Thrasios before me, because then I went. And then Marchesa, Grixis Marchesa, piloted by Khawaja Hamid. And then Nick Foles Goto 9. Was on Ezio Luris.
Cool pod.
Super cool pod. Yeah, this was an awesome pod full of a lot of people who knew each other. So turn 2, I had a tally off of a Veil of Summer still. So I got to Veil of Summer. And remember how it says your spells can't be countered?
Yeah.
Well, when you look into a pod that has like a fish in play from the Marchesa deck, and you know there's some open mana from Ezio, and you're playing against just Thrasios Timna in general, right? Like I was super happy to have that. And I had a couple of good Atalis here, but I flipped into Tainted Pact and Hellkite Courser.
That's good.
And was trying to find a way to. It is kind of good. The Tainted Pact is good, but the Hellkite Courser
bad when the Italian's in play.
Exactly. Yeah. So I was like, maybe I can like find a way to get rid of Atali at instant speed for 1 mana.
Yeah.
Because I also flipped into a Felwar Stone, which I was able to cast. So like that was the only mana that I had. I found Flare of Duplication.
Oh, sure.
And I called the judge to see if I could sacrifice my Atali to have Flare copy the only other thing on the stack, which was Hellkite Courser. Because the problem is Tainted Pact has resolved by the time I get the card
Right.
into my hand.
But Flare of Duplication specifically has to target an instant or sorcery.
Yes, because there's no if clause that would be like on like Red Blast or something
Or
like that, or
Deflecting Swat or
Pyroblast.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So Aaron calls me an idiot, and then we keep going. I just go, okay, well, I passed Squeeze, so I just go until I find Food Chain, and only have 8 more cards in my library. So I've exiled most of it.
Okay.
And by the time this is done, I only have like 1 or 2 more mana here, and not enough to cast Food Chain and actually go for a win. But I'm passing the turn into, Marchesa with a fish and 2 other decks that haven't really gotten to do anything yet, while I have a known win going for my turn. So Marchesa is under the correct impression that this is their only chance to go for a win.
Yeah.
Puts the fish into the graveyard and puts a flipped Burgie, the Harnfell, onto the stack and dumps their whole hand, which is only 2 other cards right now, to try to find something to push, and finds 2 lands and 2 counterspells.
Okay.
And so Quad's just like, all right, well,
Never mind.
this is your problem now, Jay. So now Jay's between a rock and a hard place because he doesn't think that he can do anything to like stop Thrasios Tymna, and Thrasios Tymna doesn't have anything to stop me. He puts a Vampiric Tutor on the stack on Quad's end step, and then reveals that he has like a windfall. He's like, I can windfall, and I'm like, I don't want to windfall. I'm gonna have 1 card in my library. Then I'm gonna lose the game
And
because
you lose
of
the Food Chain, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna lose the Food Chain. I'm gonna get decked out in this case. Like, so I really don't want this to happen. He said I can use this tutor to screw over the Thrasios Tymna player then too. He could do all of these things, but he can only choose one of them to do is the problem.
Right, and it messes you up, but it doesn't necessarily help him to find a win or anything.
Exactly. Yeah, he can windfall and then mess me up, but then he refuels Quadja and the TNT player, and then that way, that's a whole other game that they have to play. It basically resets.
Yeah, and then Quadja untaps with the horn and 7 fresh cards in hand.
Which they really don't want to do.
Basically 14 cards. Like
Exactly,
it's more cards
yeah.
for Quadja than anyone else, so that's bad.
But then if he vamp tutors and tries to mess up Thrasios Tymna from doing anything, I just get to untap in Food Chain and I don't need to protect my win because no one's going to have anything to do. So it was kind of like, well, I'm damned if I do, I'm damned if I don't. No matter what, it's going to put this game into a scenario where either Cam wins or we all lose right now. So it was better for us that we ended up drawing here, I think.
Yeah,
so
that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, Atali does that. I feel like it just like puts the table in really weird positions where they have to do, like you said, like they have to do something or they're dead, and that can be awkward at tournaments because it's better to draw and take 1 point than 0 points.
It definitely is, yeah. But that's definitely a scenario that I'm glad that I can use to my advantage. Is that like I can play the game and like push for a win and kind of make the table have to accept draws when they need to. And I don't know. This might happen again later today. So I am 1-0-1 so far. How was your round 2?
For my second round, I'm playing against Green Goblin, Yuriko, me in third again, and then Animar. I'm just going to read it again as written because this is like the fresh thoughts in my mind. Forced to draw. Yuriko player had tons of advantage. I go for an early culling. It gets mental misstepped. Next turn, I cast Beseech and say, please, 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 please let me get Mystical More instead of Necro because they were going to counter Beseech the Mirror. And I said, I'll get something else. I won't get Necro. I'll get anything else. And they basically allow me to get Mystic Remora and say, okay, I won't counter if you get Mystic Remora because I'm at a table with Animar and Yuriko, so Mystic Remora's not so bad. So I say, fine, I'll get Mystic Remora.
At least you could do something.
Better than it getting countered, I thought. Then yada yada yada. I cast Terra and found Touch the Spirit Realm. I used it against Yuriko to stay alive for 1 more turn. They thought that they were going to be able to kill me. Animar has a double win, and Yuriko has 2 pieces of interaction, but no more than that, and is afraid of the Grixis player untapping because then if they use their last interaction and then the Grixis player just untaps and puts a win, then they'll feel really bad. Grixis was like, yeah, that makes sense. And I did say they put a win on the stack like every turn. They're going to only keep trying. And the Yuriko player was like, oh yeah, okay, sure, we should draw. And I made sure to confirm we're all happy about this, like we're all good. And everyone said yes. So I said, okay, great, we go for a draw, which was great because that was a game that I was never going to win because Yuriko had just had like tons of advantage and like huge mana cost things on the top of the library very quickly, tons of ninjas out. They just had like a great start. I was certainly no way ever winning that game, but I did tell the Animar player, you should put your second win on the stack so that Yuriko has to use their interaction on you. And I think that was what allowed for us all to take a draw, which ended up being a good thing. I did see one cool card from the Green Goblin player that I thought was interesting. I can't remember the name of it right now, but it's this Strixhaven red card. It's a 5 mana card, and it reduces to 4 mana if you let an opponent discard however many cards they want and draw that many cards, but it's a 3 triple gamble. You search a library for 3 cards and put them into your hand and discard 3 cards at random.
Oh, wow.
Seems kind of terrible and bad, but in Green Goblin, even without that reduction, if you just take it from 5 to 3 mana to 3 mana, search your library for 3 cards and discard them at random, that's really good if Green Goblin is out because you get the reduction. It basically sets up a win. It's an intuition. You can find Underworld Breach and Lion's Eye Diamond and a Talisman to cast the Underworld Breach, and then there you go. You win the game or whatever, right? So
that's so strong.
I thought it was really great. He was able to use it in a situation to help us stop the Yuriko player by saying, Dylan, I will let you, me on Terra, discard a Barcha card and draw cards, hoping that you can find interaction for Yuriko. So then Yuriko goes, oh, fuck, I definitely have to counter this now because you're going to triple gamble and I'm going to draw a bunch of cards. So it made it like a must counter threat, which was helpful in getting interaction out of Yuriko's hand so that we could put the double win on the stack later, which would deplete him of all of it and then be afraid of the Green Goblin untapping and just putting another win on the stack. It was a cool game. I thought it was a lot of fun. I have nothing else to say. It was just a good game.
No, that definitely sounds like a very interesting game where like politics played a big part of it. And, you know, it was a lot of, you know, trying to get your opponents to use interaction on each other. And even though, you know, you might not have been in an advantageous scenario because Yuriko just is so strong sometimes.
The clock is super quick. Yuriko nowadays feels a lot like a burn deck, and then with like Roaming Throne and shit like that, all of a sudden there's like a chance for like Roaming Throne's out and they Vampiric Tutor, everyone's taking 30. Like it's out of nowhere. It's a lot of damage. Like
the top deck tutors are absurd.
Yeah,
in that
they have 15 drops and shit. Like it feels like a burn deck recently. So it felt like Slicer almost, where like all of a sudden the 3 of us kind of had to team up on Yuriko. And I also wanted to know, Touch the Spirit Realm. I just recently put it in Terra. I loved it. I thought it was great.
I'm so glad that's in Terra because that's something you can flip over and get, but like it's also uncounterable interaction.
So good. And like weirdly enough, I haven't used this for it yet. It could theoretically flicker a Terra and like get me 5 cards deeper in the end step.
Because it's not your opponent's stuff. It's anyone's anything.
I thought it's
right?
anyone's anything, but maybe I'm wrong about that.
No,
now,
I bet that's right.
Unsure.
No, because what card fucked me over the other night that I was like, oh man, if this said my stuff.
The land, the one that's a land. And it flips
Sinking to Stupor.
Yeah,
Sinking to Stupor would have won me a game if it said.
I was pretty sure that Touch the Spirit Realm has helped me. Oh, I hope I'm not wrong about this. I thought Touch the Spirit Realm was a card that helped me actually win by exiling my own Sisei and then winning in my end step when it came back.
I bet that is correct.
I hope that Touch is the card I'm thinking about.
I'm scryfalling the word touch.
Good luck.
It's doesn't matter who controls it. Yeah, that's awesome.
I thought Touch was really great. Good to include, especially with Terra being able to find enchantments. So yeah, I am 0-1-1, which isn't the best, but it's not the worst. Draw is fine. We
you
take
scored
those
an
in
actual
tournaments.
point in an actual cEDH tournament.
There you go. Exactly. How was your round 3?
All right, so round 3 is Kefka, me, Ob Nixilis, and then Dog Thras.
Okay.
Which is Yoshimaru Thrasios. And as the Ob Nixilis player is coming up to the table, he's like, hey, we should draw. I think there's a theme in like people are scared of Vitali in general.
Yeah.
especially when they see that like I'm in second seat again.
Yeah.
I went first, second, and now second again. They're like,
interesting.
Cam's going pretty quick. And people are like, I think I need to set this up for a draw, I think is like kind of where people are at. So I took advantage of this and I said, well, everyone wants to draw, but I'm trying to play. So I'm going to look at as many hands as I can and then not put in a draw until I feel like I'm ready to draw. And the table's like, okay. Like I made sure that was okay. So like I mulled down to 4 and I was like, you guys still okay if like we keep going? And like I'll accept the draw later, but not right now.
Yeah.
Because I mulled into a turn 1 Prowl Dino.
Okay.
Off of a City of Traders and a Mox Diamond or something like that.
Great start.
Yeah, that was great.
That's a turn to Itali.
That's a turn to Itali, yeah. But the Kefka player played Fish on turn 1.
Okay.
And then I'm like, okay, I'll feed you 1 card. It'll be fine. I can still get in at you with my Prowl Dino. And then Ob Nixilis fed the shit out of this Fish.
Yeah.
I got a turn 1 Ob Nixilis. Like it still went well, but over committed to the turn 1 Ob Nixilis and still got it out, but just also got like out way more rocks.
I think, truthfully, that's a good strategy. In that situation, I think it's best to give the Fish player cards so that the Fish player can stop you.
Oh, yeah.
And make other people have to interact with each other. Because if the Fish player is forced to use things on interaction, that means that they have less cards that can win the game for them. And
especially because they're going right after me. So they'll have no interaction by the time Ob Nixilis goes and tries to get something
which means that potentially somebody else has interaction for the Fish player if they've drawn enough to go for for a quick win, which puts the Ob Nixilis back in a good spot or something.
Yeah.
So I do like that line. I think there's a lot of situations where it's correct to feed the fish in tournaments.
So then Dog Thrash goes and then plays like a land in a man and dork, and I go, I'm ready to accept the draw. And so that's what we did. We accepted the draw. And it worked. Yeah, it worked. I realized, like, all right, this is not a great spot for me. I can get in for a 3-mana Atali, but it might not go very well, and I'm not doing those for the rest of the game. When
Interesting.
There's already an Ob Nixilis out with a ton of mana.
Yeah.
The Dog Thrash player is so excited about a draw in any kind of capacity.
So but your dinosaur could connect. You just didn't want to bother seeing?
I didn't think that it was an advantageous spot for me. My dinosaur could have connected, but if my dinosaur connects, Atali can still be countered by the fish player who drew a ton of cards, or I could be mind break trapped once I put everything on the stack, right? Like, there's a lot of other stuff.
And then you can't offer the draw once you're that far behind.
And then, once I have 4 Atalis and don't win, I can't go, all right, you guys want to draw?
Yeah, they're not going to take it then.
Yeah, they're not going to take it then.
Interesting.
It still has to be early enough for me to spot that it's not going to be an easy one. It can easily go wrong. And what I could easily be doing is sitting here doing nothing for another hour.
It's play to win the tournament, not play to win the individual game. And I think that's a smart move. If you can't win the game, the move should immediately become, how do I make this a draw? If you no longer think that you can win the game easily, you should be pushing the game into a draw in a tournament, which does make cEDH and tEDH, I think, much differently, because cEDH, I feel like, is more often, at least on a casual cEDH level, is played on the individual games basis. I'm doing everything I can to win this game. But in a tournament, that's not your goal. I'm not trying to win every game. I'm trying to win the tournament. That's the goal. So in there's situations where, like, I have a 1% chance of winning or an 80% chance of drawing, I'm going to try to draw instead. My chance of winning is so low now, but my chance of drawing is realistic. So rather than just like in a casual cEDH game, I might say, fuck it, I'm going to go for that 1%. I'm going to try to win the game.
Yeah.
In a tournament, nope, I would like to go as far as I can in the tournament.
Yeah, there's no amount of personal pride that I have that would ever make me go, oh, that's fine, I'll just still attack into you and just then overfeed your fish again by casting 4 spells into it with Atali then. Like, in theory, I could do that, but that's how I completely lose the tournament, like you're saying.
Yeah.
So
the goal is play to win the tournament.
Exactly, yeah. So I'm now 1-0-2 because Atali is scary and people are willing to accept draws when they think that they don't have a chance to win.
So just as a also, I don't know, recap is the wrong thing, and an explanation, in cEDH tournaments, a win is worth 5 points, a draw is worth 1 point. 12 points basically locks you in for top 16.
Yeah, for our 96-person events, once you hit 12 points, you're locked in, and then
normally some 11 points will get there.
Yeah, there's normally a lot of people that still end up having 11 points in the tournament, so it's normally like if your tiebreakers are good, that's what will bump you up into the top 16.
Right, yeah. So like 2 wins and 2 draws, that's in. And there's 5 rounds total. So 2, 1, 2, that is a lock for top 16. So that's kind of like the loose bare minimum goal that everyone is trying to obtain right now.
So that means that at 1-0-2, I've locked in my 2 draws. I just need 1 more win in the next 2 rounds.
Boom. And then you're in top 16 guaranteed.
Exactly, yeah. So I'm feeling okay. Feeling okay, yeah.
For my round 3, this game was awesome. I played against me going in seat 1, which means I have a chance to win.
Nice.
Gyruda, Magda, and Blue Farm, which is kind of an interesting pod. Blue Farm is really good. Magda can slaughter in the game. What the fuck is Gyruda doing? Nobody knows. So it's like an interesting pod dynamic. I kept Naz, Silence, Savannah, Underground Sea, Tinderwall, Lotho, Dragon's Rage Channeler, which has good things in it, right? Ad Nauseum's good. Not enough mana to cast it yet. It's only 2 lands, but the Tinderwall is good. Turn 1, I play Savannah, Tinderwall. Turn 2, I draw Dark Ritual, which, if you're keeping up, that means that I can now cast Silence off of the Savannah, Dark Ritual off of the Underground Sea, and with the Tinderwall and the Dark Ritual mana, cast Ad Nauseum on turn 2. So that's what I do.
That's awesome.
Seat 1, I am given a turn 2 Silence Ad Nauseum into a Rhystic Study. The Gyruda player played, turn 1 Rhystic Study. So
you
I was like,
Silence, though.
I have the Silence. So I was like, okay. The other 2 players fed him like 1 or 2 cards, I think. So I'm going to cast Silence, and they draw 3 cards. I cast the Silence, it resolves. I said, oh my God, I can't believe this. So I do the Ad Nauseum. I Ad Nauseum a big old chunk, and I get down to 3 life, and I don't have it exactly there in my pile.
Ooh, okay.
I need, basically, the only line that I can come up with what I have is a Demonic Consultation line. And I don't know if you're keeping up with recently, but I have been fucked by Demonic Consultation, a hilarious various amount of times recently. I have a recency bias towards it. I am aware that it's not correct, but I have been fucked recently by that card a lot. So at the time, I had already revealed Force of Will. The Ad Nauseam was cast already. There's not that many 4/3 drops that I could hit, but I know if I hit one more piece of fast mana, the line is easy. There's no issues. It's like definitive. It's right there. But if I don't hit that one mana, I have to Demonic Consultation as a tutor at one point. So I'm like, I don't know. So I go, if I hit Mox Diamond or Chromox, it's just easy. So I say one more card, one more time, and it's Chromox, right? So I go, oh my God, that's it. Okay, I'm stopping right there, and I pick up my pile.
Oh, wow.
The line that I wrote down to get me to win after I Ad Nauseam with 0 mana left over, and I had already played my land drop, and it's turn 2, by the way. My turn 2, seat 1, so nobody else has had a turn 2 yet. I play Lotus Petal, Mox Amber, use the Lotus Petal to cast an Offer You Can't Refuse on the Mox Amber, because the Mox Amber wasn't live yet, so it made no mana, to make 2 treasures. Then I cast Noble Hierarch, and then I cast Culling the Weak, sacrificing the Noble Hierarch to make 4 black mana. I use Tainted Pack. I have the 2 black mana left to go until I find Breach. I use a Chromox, pitch a red card to cast Breach, and then win the game from there because I have the Lotus Petal that's in my graveyard, and I'm able to Tainted Pact again. And in my Ad Nauseam hand, I had Brain Freeze there, so I was able to just cast Brain Freeze. And then I tell the table, would you like me to play it out? I have Brain Freeze and Lotus Petal, and the Storm is big, and Underworld Breach is here, and they say no. So I say, great, I will do this until I find Thassa's Oracle and cast it, and I win the game.
That's awesome. Nice.
So it was great because it really felt like my deck was like, okay, Dylan, here is the tipping point. You are given is seat 1. Here is the perfect start. Don't fuck it up. And I almost fucked it up too. I was like, maybe I go for an end step Nas here. And I was like, no, that's fucking stupid. Like the Ristic Study player is going to untap and have untapped mana. The Magda player is going to put out a stacks piece and I'll never get out from. The Timna Crown player, like if I let this go past turn 2, I don't win this game. I have to do it right now. So I did it. I'm 1-1-1 now in the tournament, so I'm still very much alive. I have to win 1 more and draw 1 more ideally, or win 2 more to get into top 16.
Yeah, but if you win your next game, that means you can just draw in your final game.
Theoretically.
And then, be in a good spot. So
how did your round 4 go?
So now we're moving into round 4. I'm playing against another Kefka going first, and then me going second game, and then Kinnan, and then Blue Farm.
Okay.
This is an interesting one. I mulled the 4 and couldn't get enough mana for a turn 2 chunky, which means that this game was going to go quite long because the Blue Farm player kept a hand that was Lotus Petal, Esper Sentinel, Vexing Bauble, and no other mana sources.
Oh, God. Okay.
So they kind of risk it a little bit and use the Lotus Petal on the Esper Sentinel.
Sure.
Which could have been mental misstepped by the Kinnan player who kind of like announced that he has a misstep for that. So he lets the Esper Sentinel go. Again, now this was my window to go around the Vexing Bauble, and I can't. I don't have the mana. So the Vexing Bauble sticks, and then mid-range Hell is coming around now for the rest of the pod.
Okay.
There's draw engines, a humongous Bowmaster army, and it gave me the window to bounce Vexing Bauble with a Deflecting Swat that I had in my hand.
Okay.
I could hard cast Deflecting Swat on an Otawara that Kinnan was using against Blue Farm, and then I had a chance to Atali then on my turn, and I had bad flips, so I couldn't win, which was very unfortunate. But then neither could Kinnan, as Kinnan passed. So then we went to Blue Farm, who was in a spot where he was able to keep pinging off Kefka enough where this humongous Orc army was going to swing at him for a win, and he ends up going to try to put his win on the stack first before going to combat.
Okay.
And this ends up giving Kinnan then the opportunity to ask to see Kefka's hand, reveals that there's a win here, and says, I'm going to bounce your Orc army with Cyclonic Rift if we don't accept a draw.
Okay.
So this kind of works out for me, where even though I did try to push at one point, I just couldn't get there at all of my windows, the game was still in a spot where everyone else was able to set up a draw.
Who was the player that was attacking Blue Farm?
Blue Farm was going to attack the Kefka player.
Blue Farm was attacking the Kefka player. So the Kinnan player understands that if the Blue Farm player attacks Kefka and takes him out of the game, Blue Farm will be able to win on the spot.
Yeah.
So then Kinnan says, all right, I'm going to bounce this Orc army in order to keep Kefka alive to stop Blue Farm from winning, knowing that Kefka has a win in hand and Kefka's going to win the game.
Exactly, yeah.
And so both of these players don't want this to happen. Why does the Kefka player needs to take the draw because they're going to die otherwise. Like if they don't take the draw, the king will let them die. Or the blue farm player will win, actually.
Well, yeah, because they'll get taken.
They'll get taken out and the blue farm player will win.
Even if blue farm doesn't win right there, like blue farm can still attack them with the orc army. Like Kefka doesn't stay around unless someone else interacts with the orc army because Kefka got tapped out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at this point, this is great for you because you can't win the game anymore. So
I can't win the game.
Sure.
Yeah, I was under the Vexing Bobble like the whole time, and the one opportunity that I had to try to win absolutely failed me.
Okay. But you were still able to make it into a draw.
Into a draw,
which
yeah.
is great.
So now I'm 1-0-3, which feels very, very weird. Yeah.
1-0-3. Still technically undefeated.
Still undefeated. I have yet to lose a game. But I've been in a lot of scenarios where I felt like I could not win today, though.
And now you need to win your next one.
Now I need to win. Yeah. I have 8 points.
Yeah. You have 3 draws and 5, 6, 7, 8. So if you get another draw at 9 points, does not get you anywhere close to top 16.
No, exactly. Yeah. So you do still need to win games of cEDH.
Yeah.
You can't just draw.
Only 2 of them, though.
Exactly. Yeah. But a third is fun. All right. So how did your round 4 go?
My round 4, I'm playing against Vivi, me in second, Tyam, and then Rog Tev. Rog Tev going last, which is great because Rog Tevish is like a turbo deck, basically. I keep a very mediocre hand because 1, I know this Tyam player, and 2, I know that Tyam games, to me, they feel unwinnable in the amount of time that you're given. So my strategy against Tyam games is to just accept that fact and don't try to go for an early win because Tyam will probably be able to stop you with the stacks piece or something, deafening silence or rule of law effect or something like that. So instead, I just keep medium hands that could potentially put the game into a drawing position. That's my strategy now, and say, all right, I'm just going to try to push for a draw. So turn 1, Tyam puts onto play deafening silence, which I said, fucking great. I have mental misstep in my hand too, and I don't even use it. I say, great. If I counter this, Rogtev is going after you, and they get to unleash hell on all of us. I also know Rogtev, a Rakdos deck, can realistically not get rid of deafening silence. They have like 1 card theoretically, and it's a sorcery, and like they have a bad spot for this. So I know now this gives my medium hand time to like stay in the game. So I let it resolve. Eventually, I go for an end step on Vivi's end step, Otawara on the deafening silence, saying, okay, we've lasted a while here. I've built up a lot of resources. It happens. I go to my turn. I Praetor's Grasp VV for a breach. They don't counter it, and they only have 2 cards in their hand.
Oh, wow.
So I say, okay, I wrote down in hand Bodyguard Counterspell. I don't know what that means. I had Flusterstorm, Mental Misstep, and Fierce. Oh, that's what I had. I don't know. I had Flusterstorm, Mental Misstep, and Fierce in my hand, but Fierce isn't live, so I have the Flusterstorm. I don't have the Fierce in play because earlier, the Rog Tevish player activated Mount Doom and destroyed everyone's shit.
Oh, shit.
Which meant all of the Tyam's players' things was destroyed also, which is what allowed to kind of almost give me this like opportunity to like find a window here.
Wow, it got really grindy, then not grindy at all of a sudden.
All of a sudden, there was a window. What ended up happening was I put the Underworld Breach on the stack.
Okay.
They interacted. I cast Flusterstorm. They say, okay, their second card in hand, the VB player, was interaction. They're the only blue player at the table. They had 2 cards in hand. It was 2 pieces of interaction. I had in my hand Final Fortune. I could have Final Fortune instead of Underworld Breach. They could have still Mindbreak trapped that. If they Mindbreak trap it, then I still have Underworld Breach in exile from the Praetor's Grasp, and theoretically next turn I could try again. But instead, I just grabbed the Breach because I don't know why in my head I thought the Final Fortune is like more risky now, because now I'm dead to like any like a bounce spell maybe could like make me die because I took an extra turn that I didn't need to, or one of the other non-blue players will have some sort of thing that can interact with me in a way that screws up my Final Fortune extra turn. Looking back, I should have just cast the Final Fortune to bait out the counter spell and then try to win on the next turn, but I didn't do that, and the VV player had 2 counter spells in their hand out of their 2 cards, and so be it. I thought it was a window and it wasn't. It gets back to Tyam. They put Deafening Silence back on the stack, which I think is great at this point because I go, okay, I've shot my load. I can't win the game anymore, so at least the Rograk player can't. Throughout the game now, I just keep on casting Terra a couple times, and I find like Mirror Maid and Copy Enchantment, and I decided to just copy the Deafening Silence twice. I copy with a Copy Enchantment, and then next turn I copy with a Mirror Maid again, knowing that Rog has to get rid of the Deafening Silence if they're going to win. The VV player is hellbent, so I don't think that they're going to be able to have to do anything unless they miraculously top deck Curiosity or something. So my strategy is like full force, just like force the game into a draw and make no one win because I don't think I can win the game anymore.
As long as Tyam can't win, then you're good.
can't win the game then. There was a reason why I knew Time. Oh, the Mount Doom completely destroyed them. They had nothing.
Oh,
They had
yeah.
like, it was like a very mana Dorkan. I think they had like a couple lands in the Deafening Silence in play. Time didn't get in play yet, so Time wasn't even here. They just like, they felt like completely out of it. So I was like, yeah, we are just making this game a draw, and that's what it was. No one could win the game in Time, and it ended up being a draw. It was still a very cool game because like I knew kind of right from the beginning I was going to try to make the game a draw. I was weirdly like, I found a window where I could have like found a win off of my very medium hand that I kept.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool, and I wish I would have thought like, play around Mindbreak Trap, don't play around Dispel. You know what I mean? In my head also, like, Final Fortune is a little bit easier to counter than Underworld Breach, but like, not really. You know what I mean? Like, there are some things like Dispel or something like that that could counter one and not the other, but Mindbreak Trap counters both, and everyone plays Mindbreak Trap. I should play around that instead.
Yeah.
And I didn't think about Mindbreak Trap specifically when I went through my line, but that's okay. Draw's a draw. I'll take a draw. We're going into round 5. You and I in a very similar position where we both need to win our games to get into top 16.
Exactly, yeah, which is a very good and scary scenario to be in at the same time, yeah. So my last round, I'm going first, which is great to see, which means I've gone first or second all day so far.
Yeah, which is very helpful.
That's very helpful, yeah. But I also haven't won any of the games that I did not go first in, so...
Me neither. I only won my one going first so far.
Exactly, yeah. So I'm going to read what I wrote here. So Vivi got out a Ristic Study and stopped me from turn 2ing. I flipped into Worldly Tutor and a Ral card that puts cards with flashback from your deck into your graveyard, which finds me Electroduplicate, which is really funny. Vivi had a counter for the Worldly Tutor, which would have gotten my Rionia, so I was very sad about that. But I had enough mana then that I could I had Treasonous Ogre, so I had enough mana that I could still Electroduplicate Atali, but did not get much value. But I did find a Lightning Bolt, and at this point, since it was turn 2, Ral and Najila were both out. Did I say what my pod was?
I don't know that you mentioned it.
It was me, Ral, Najila, and then Vivi.
Okay.
I realized I said the word Najila, and I was like, oh, that I haven't said that
word
yet.
today yet.
Yeah. So I have this Lightning Bolt, and I'm like, I'm inclined to kill one of your commanders, but I don't know which one I should kill. Does anyone want to show me their hand? And so Najila goes, oh, yeah, sure, I'll show you my hand because it wasn't that good.
Yeah.
It proved that it wasn't. They had like Savine's Reclamation. There were only 3 cards in it. And Ral only had 3 cards in their hand, too. So after I looked at Najila's hand, I said, well, I'm not inclined to kill Najila. And so Ral shows me their hand and shows me a Snap, which was like the most important card and like 2 other things that didn't really matter. So I go, well, I appreciate you showing me your hand, but your hand's more powerful. So I'm gonna Lightning Bolt Ral, and then I kind of like end up stopping there. Like I'm at a relatively low life total because of Treasonous Ogre, and there is a Vivi in play. Like Vivi was off to an insane start.
Interesting that I feel like even more so in tournaments, what Magic cards do, because talking is allowed, is that they actually, what they say that they do is like the minimum of what they do.
It really is.
Lightning Bolt deals 3 damage to a creature, yes, but it can also show you the target hand of 2 players. It's also like half peak. You know what I mean?
It has
like, look at 2 players' hands.
Gataxian probes stapled onto it.
Looking at 2 players' hands
is
also like, that's really, because now you know what's in their hand. Now you know what interaction they have.
That's the other thing, yeah. So when I pass here and I see that Vivi still has like Ristic Study and a Vivi in play that's on 2, Ral just goes to cast Ral again. I'm like, wait, hold up. I know you have that Snap in your hand. We have to do at least a little something to Vivi. You should use the Snap because it's free. You can still cast Ral after and get Vivi bounced. And he's like, yeah, that's a great point. So he does that, which, I mean, I think is still the right play no matter what, but it works out great for me because now I don't have to worry about Snap. Najila draws Ranger Captain of Eos, which is perfect for us because now we don't lose to Vivi.
Yes.
So
you have a hard time against Ranger Captain.
I do. Well, I don't want the table to know that. So when I say, as Vivi is trying to, Vivi goes to their turn, cast Vivi, and with Vivi on the stack, I'm like, this is a great time to Ranger Captain because we know that Vivi's got it. I fed Vivi a ton. I fed Vivi 8 cards.
Yeah,
like
Vivi's a problem now. That might be my fault, but we all have to do something
about it.
It doesn't
matter why Vivi's a problem. Vivi's a problem. So, see, that's another thing that I really like about Atali is that like you're in the public enemy #1, but the second until you're not, then you pass it over to someone else, and then nope, it's them now. It's them,
and then you get a soft check on who has removal because they're gonna have to tell you because they haven't interact with you and then the next player.
Exactly,
So if they
yeah.
haven't done anything by then, they don't have anything.
So I say, look, the Ranger Captain's not really going to do much to me. Like, it really only stops food chain, but like I'm still going to keep casting a ton of spells and cast as many creatures as I can, and then keep trying to go off from there. Like, you either die to Vivi now, or maybe you won't die to me on my turn too. They, I think, again, rightfully crack Ranger Captain so we don't lose, and Vivi can't do anything after just casting Vivi, so they pass, and this gives me an opportunity to go for a win. So yeah, so but again, I'm at an insanely low life total. So I ended up casting an Atali again. I get an Atali again, and I find a Bergie and a Tainted Pact. So the Tainted Pact lets me go and do the same thing the last time I found a Tainted Pact, except I exiled Squee and found food chain way sooner than I did last time.
Okay.
So I still had a little bit of library left. And I also, did I say I found Bergie too?
Yeah.
This was really helpful because now all I needed to do was just keep going through the food chain loop, and that way every time I cast Squee, I was also making a red mana, so that there's going to be one more Rhystic Study draw, but now every other time that I cast Squee from exile, I have a red mana that can pay for Rhystic Study, and I will always get that red mana back. So now I can still make infinite mana for creatures without having to worry about Rhystic Study, which means I can still tally through everyone's decks and still have like all of the mana that I need in order to pay for the things.
The Rhystic Study.
The Rhystic Studies, yeah. And if I can't pay for the Rhystic Study, I don't have to cast the spells anymore.
Right, yeah.
Because now it's just a tally that's going to exile everyone's library. And funnily enough, I was at 3 because I used Ancient Tomb. I was at 5 at the start of the turn. I used Ancient Tomb to pay for like 2 Rhystic Studies. And I'm so glad I did, because the only thing that Vivi had was a Gut Shot, which between Vivi Trigger and Gut Shot put me to 1.
Yeah.
And if I wouldn't have paid for those 2 Rhystic Studies, Vivi would have found a Lightning Bolt that could have hit me too.
Oh, God.
Which is super wild. That, the 2 life ended up actually being like the perfect amount of life to not have to take 3 life. So this was a win that I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I remember on the first turn I was trying to go off going, I biffed this. I fucked up, and like I saw your game had finished, and then I went, oh boy, I better clinch something up here. I was extremely excited that we could get there. So we ended the Swiss at 2-0-3, which means we had 13 points.
Which puts you, I think it put you at like second seed or something like that.
It put me up pretty high.
I think you were high up, like going in.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know how many people ended up having 3 wins.
I thought none.
I think there were 2 people that were at 2-0-3.
Yeah.
So I think I was second seed going into the top. How did your round 5 go?
For my round 5, I wrote down here, me going first again. Good sign. Also, for your pod, both of your wins, you were C1.
Yep.
And you had Treasonous Ogre.
I noticed that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. I want just something similar will happen in my games, you'll notice.
Yep.
I'm C1. Yoshi Thras is next to me, Kefka, and then Rogsai. I start Noble Hierarch, turn 2, Arcane Signet, and Steel Enchantment for the Rogsai's Necro Dominance that they just played.
That's insane.
They mulliganed to like 5, played Necro Dominance. They drew like 5 or 6 cards or something and kept the 5 or whatever. So I had land, Dork, and then next turn, land, Arcane Signet, Steel Enchantment for Necro Dominance, and then it resolves. So I was like, oh wow, this is great. Not only does Rogsai player not get to draw 30 cards in their end step, but I get to start drawing cards. So I do something similar. I just draw 6 cards, and I have Force of Will up at this point. I discard down to 5, but I am able to keep Force of Will in my hand, and I had a Wish Claw in my hand as well. Right away, Kefka on their turn 2 plays Kefka, and I have to discard a card. So I have to go down to 4 cards, and I discard, I think, a Rite of Flame. My turn 3, it gets back to me. Rogsai doesn't present a win from the few cards that they drew. I cast Wish Claw Talisman, and it resolves. This is after a Yoshimaru player played a expedition map with the Soul Ring and had open a Tundra and an extra mana, and they didn't crack their map. So I was thinking, okay, there's probably a real chance that they have Silence or Swan Song or something, some sort of counterspell.
Worst Archivist of Agma, yeah.
Right. So on my turn, I cast a Wish Claw Talisman, and they say nothing. So I say, okay, well, what you have can't counter a Wish Claw Talisman, because you probably would counter that. I feel like maybe they're looking to counter the thing that I get afterwards or whatever. So it makes me feel a little bit better. Afterwards, I pay 26 life with my Necro Dominance after I have 3 mana up after I play the Wish Claw Talisman. I have 5 mana. I go to 5. I find Valley Floodcaller. I Chain of Vapor the Necropotence, and then win with Breach. I didn't write anything specifics down after that, but I found Valley Floodcaller out of the 20-something cards that I drew, cast it, it resolves. The Yoshi Thras player didn't have anything. They were just bluffing, hoping that the bluff would work.
Oh, wow.
And I just said, fuck it, you're not going to have anything. The Wish Claw Talisman ended up being helpful. I think I played like Valley Floodcaller, some mana, and then Wish Claw for the Underworld Breach. And then in my big draw, I found a way to do something something. And it's funny, the whole game, we were all talking about how Necro Dominance sucks. Like the Rockstar player was like, this card sucks. I have to go down to 5. And they were kind of right. I agree. I think Necro Dominance kind of does suck, which is what I was kind of like leaning into of like, I'm stealing enchantment this, but this also sucks. Like trying to like let the table know that like, you know what I mean? But nonetheless, it still draws you 30 cards, whether it's bad or not. And
yeah, exactly.
It's worse than Necropotence in just about every single way, but it's still good. It still draws you 30 cards.
All you have to do is just like be around for one turn with a 5-card hand, and it's the same thing that Necropotence is otherwise.
Yeah, realistically, if you play, the tough part is you going down to 5 right away. The first time, you can't or shouldn't draw that many cards because any of these Grixis-based decks, all of the cards are like very valuable. You don't need to see all of them, but you can't really afford to, there's a bunch you can't really afford to get rid of. So oftentimes, I think it's right to just like go to 6 cards in hand, sculpt a little, go 1, you know what I mean? I end up getting rid of like 3 cards or something, but oftentimes like what you're doing is drawing the next turn. You're drawing all those cards, which makes Steel Enchantment really good. Like it felt, Steel Enchantment there felt insane. Like 2-mana Necro Dominance that also gets rid of my opponent's Necro Dominance is such a fucking powerful card, right?
Especially when they don't have the chance to draw the 30 first and then sculpt like a good hand. They're just like doing the refill hand and then completely losing out on it altogether.
I still don't think that it's that good, but I do think that I might consider it in Terra, and also just like Steel Enchantment is just like really good.
Yeah,
sometimes.
any kind of like stealing effect, like taking away something from your opponent and then giving yourself a value has just always been so lopsided of an effect.
And it was the reason why I kept the hand. I kept the Steel Enchantment knowing that I was going after Roxai, hoping that they're going to play a Ristic or a Fish or a Necro or something, and it worked out, and I got pretty lucky.
That went great.
That is a theme that I want to point out through this Swiss, is that both times I got seat 1, I won those games, and both of those times I was able to put a big draw spell on the stack basically on turn 2. That was the consistent thing among both those games, so I wanted to point that out because it really felt like if I wasn't going seat 1 or 2, winning the game in the amount of time feels really difficult. So like I mentioned, there were many times where like I don't think I can win anymore, so I'm going to try to push for a draw. And it's interesting how that changes the tournament, because if you're seat 1, you're so incentivized to try to go for a win, but if you're not, you're so incentivized to make sure that nobody can win a lot of the time.
That's the thing, because like when I played Tim to Malcolm and I'm like going 3rd or 4th, I need an hour and a half to win. Like I need the game to go long, and I need to be able to talk to people and like make sure that my interaction's a certain way.
Because that's how you get rid of the turn order thing. After it's like turn 5 or 6 or 7, turn order doesn't really matter as much anymore.
Exactly. It's just the early game that's so affected by it because of how quickly you can develop in cEDH in general, right?
Yeah, especially if you can present a turn 2 win, it's likely all of your opponents just tapped out because it was their first turn. They're setting up. If you're C1, they don't get to do anything yet.
Yeah, exactly, right? So yeah, if you can take advantage of that, it's super strong, and that's kind of why I think we chose good decks for this too, is that like when we do end up going first, we can put ourselves in a spot where it's going to be tough for people to interact with us then.
Right, yeah, exactly. And then like Terra is similar to like Tala, you can draw as many cards as you want with Ristic Study. If I can't win the game, I'm going to make you the problem so that the other 2 players, now we all have to fuck with you. Now we have to make sure that you can't win the game anymore. So like if I can't win, I'm going to make sure that somebody else is the threat. I would rather that be the case so that, because we can, all 3 players can try to stop one player. Like that's a little bit easier to do than if everyone is just like battling for themselves. I'm going to get left behind because everyone will value and then someone will win later.
Yeah, exactly.
So that puts us both, me at 12 points, you at 13 points.
Which means that we both get into top 16.
We're both in top 16. Hell yeah.
That's awesome.
Another thing that I've noticed about myself, I can only top 16 with 5 color decks, it seems. Sisay and Terra. So sure.
Nice. Yeah. Well, hey, I'm glad that we both made it.
Unfortunately.
Oh yeah. Unfortunately, we end up getting paired against each other though in the same pod.
This is Timna Halana, you on Tali, then me on Terra, and then Vivi.
Which means that neither of us should win.
Neither of us. Well, you're C2. C2 is closer, but yes, C1.
That means that this should end in a draw, because every time I've been C2 today, I've gotten a draw.
But it's top 16 and somebody needs to win the game.
Someone needs to win, yeah. So
do you want me to tell you my version? You should tell your version, right? Because it's going to be very similar.
It will be very similar.
I can at least tell you my hand, and then you can take it from there.
Sure, yeah.
I kept land, Mox Diamond, Lotus Petal, Ristic Study, Felwar Stone, Beseech the Mirror, Mindbreak Trap, which means that if I draw a land, I can ditch it to Mox Diamond, play a turn 1 Ristic Study, and hold up Mindbreak Trap. This is a little bit greedy because I don't currently have turn 1 Ristic Study. I have turn 1 Felwar Stone, and then that gives me a second turn to maybe find a land and play a turn 2 Ristic Study and then have up Mindbreak Trap, which is still fine enough.
Still pretty good, yeah.
I say there's a Atalia, obviously Mindbreak Trap is good against you.
Oh, yeah.
And I see that and I smell blood and I take the Mindbreak Trap. But then against Vivi, I also think that it's fine. And at this point, Tymna and Halana, I don't really know what that deck does. I'm not sure. There are different versions. A lot of times they're Protean Hulk. Sometimes they have stacks pieces. And we were talking about how Collect Roof is in their deck. So I was like, I don't know really what's going on here with that. So that was my hand. Tell me from your perspective what happened.
My hand was like Gamble and Treasonous Ogre and like all lands.
That's literally what it was.
That's yeah. Maybe like Disciple of Freyalise was one of the lands that I had, but like it was not something that I wanted.
Yeah, you had a turn 1 gamble.
I went to find Mana Vault so that I could get a turn 2 Treasonous Ogre, and of course I got rid of Treasonous Ogre. So I'm looking at a hand of all lands in a Mana Vault, and I'm like, well, at least this is a turn 3 Atali now, but in the top 16 pod, this is not what I want. So I pass to you.
I end up not finding the land, and I just play Lotus Petal, land, Fellwar Stone, pass.
Yeah.
And Vivi Mulligans to 4 at this point.
And what did Tymna Halana do on their turn 1, do you think?
They played some mana. I remember mana. I
Just
remember
mana,
like mana dorks and stuff like that. We found out later, well, you say what happened on turn 2?
Yeah, well, Vivi on their turn 1, who mulled to 4.
I thought you said they won. They didn't won.
No, Vivi on.
Vivi
on their mull to 4. On their turn 1.
Yep.
Cast Wheel of Fortune.
On their turn 1.
On their turn 1.
They didn't won.
Yeah, they didn't won on turn 1.
Yeah.
On their turn 1, they Wheel of Fortune.
Right. Specifically, they played Ancient Tomb, Lotus Petal, Mox Amber Wheel. So it turns on my Mindbreak Trap for the wheel. And I hum and I haw and I go, oh fuck. What do I do now? Because I think you are fucked now. You discarded your Treasonous Ogre. So I say, I'm not really worried about this anymore. I don't know that this Mindbreak Trap is very good anymore. Maybe I should Mindbreak Trap the Wheel of Fortune. Because if I do, Vivi is cooked. They're out of this game. But I didn't find my land. So if I don't top deck a land again, I'm not doing anything. If I can't play a turn 2 heuristic study, I'm certainly out of the game. So now I'm going back and forth. Do I trap? Do I not trap? Do I trap? Do I not trap? And eventually I decide, don't trap. My hand's kind of not good. And I'm nervous that Tymna Halana specifically, it's a weird Abzan deck. I think they need to keep something specific. I think a random 7 could fuck them up. If they find Protean Hulk in their hand or the wrong thing is in the wrong place, that can be kind of bad for Halana. So I decide maybe a wheel is good against them, and then I get a fresh start because my hand is not shaping up. I didn't need to use the Mindbreak Trap on you. I didn't find the land for a 6 study, so I say, just let it resolve, and then this game can go on for chaos for a little while, and then my hand, Terra, I'm playing 5-color good stuff. A random 7 for me is going to be good. That's how the deck is. I'm not going to draw bad cards. They just took out the food chain shit. I'm not going to draw duds.
But I mean, realistically, that's how Atali is too. Like, I've been building the deck so that...
What else is in there? Mana.
Exactly, yeah.
Mana, that's it,
I'm
right?
trying to get to 7 mana in one turn.
Exactly. So I decide to let it resolve. So it resolves, the wheel resolves. They don't find anything else to do, and they just pass a turn, and then what happens then?
And then Tymna Halana ends up going, well, it was a good thing that you did that too, because they had a really early win.
They said I was going to be able to win on my turn.
Yeah, because we found out that they are a very fast Protean Hulk deck.
They're like a Turbo Hulk deck.
So it was very good that we were able to do that, because I'm not sure that what the Mindbreak Trap would have done was going to be able to stop what that happened.
Can you imagine if I Mindbreak Trap the wheel, and then the wheel is countered, Vivi's completely out of the game. The only other blue player at the table now has no cards at the table. So
and
now,
you look at this guy and go, now what?
And then Tymna Halana, like that position puts Tymna Halana being able to just win the game, which he said he was going to be able to do. Or if they can't, if you still have shit in your hand, now I know I don't have anything because the trap is gone, and the only other blue player has no more cards in their hand. So like, to me, that scenario feels bad for me.
Yeah, I agree.
At first glance, I'm like, oh great, like you were going to win, Tymna Halana, and now you're not. So I made a good decision with letting this wheel resolve, right?
Yeah, exactly. So then Tymna Halana then just plays Visir Seer and then plays Bayou as their land for turn.
Yeah, and they specifically tapped a Savannah for something and then untapped it and then tapped their Bayou. Oh,
it was a scrub land that they had.
That's what it was, yeah.
They tapped the Bayou for the Visir Seer.
And they said, oh, can I actually tap the scrub land for it instead? And we're like, yeah, of course.
And they were like, yeah,
nothing changed, nothing happened, of course.
Yeah.
How could that matter? You
how
tapped your white source
could
down.
that matter?
How could that matter?
How could that? It's advantageous for you to want the colors of mana up.
They had a Worldly Tutor in the hand. They wanted to cast a green spell, a Worldly Tutor with the Bayou on the next end step, so they could win on their following turn.
So on my turn with my wheel hand, I go land. I have 2 mana in my lands, and I cast a Desperate Ritual.
Yeah.
And I cast my Blank Goblin.
Yeah, and we go, oh no, Atali, shit. Like, yeah, that makes sense. He's got
we're thinking
it.
about Atali. Yeah, this is 5 mana off of the Sticker Goblin here. And then I cast a Molten Duplication targeting the sticker goblin.
And we're like, yeah, that's enough for an Atali now. That sucks, right?
Except I held priority. And I used the 3 other mana I had to cast Dual Caster Mage instead.
Like, oh my god. So you had specifically like kind of like the perfect thing. You had a 2-card combo and enough mana to cast all of it.
I got wheeled into the wind.
Yeah. And I look at my hand that's full of Dark Rituals and Beseech the Mirrors and ways to win the game, and I go, shit. And pass priority, and Vivi goes, damn, pass priority. And I go, oh my god, you're fucking kidding me. And then we also find out that Timna Halana had Swords to Plowshares and doesn't have white mana to hold it up.
Oh, which was absolutely crazy. So I make infinite 2/2s and win the game on turn 2 still.
Yeah, through a gamble that fucked you up, and then a random wheel.
Through a gamble that fucked me up, and a random wheel.
We should have known, too. You already had bad luck with the gamble. We should have known the next thing was going to be good luck.
Exactly.
I should have not let that wheel resolve.
So 50-50 with the luck. Like, you win so spectacularly and then lose so spectacularly right after. So
at this point, so you won your top 16 pod. You're going to top 4, and you're still undefeated throughout the day. You've only won and draw.
I'm 3-0-3 technically for the day,
And my tournament's done, but I still felt like I played well throughout most of my day. I wrote down at one point, I feel like I'm playing well and talking well. I felt like I was doing well with the deck. There was a few moments where I could have put the Final Fortune first instead of the Underworld Breach, and maybe that would have been more helpful. Maybe in game 1, I could have tried to argue for a draw a little bit earlier, but overall, I was kind of feeling good about my performance, even though I lost in top 16. I'll take it.
That's totally fair.
Top 4 for you.
Top 4, yeah. So the top 4 pod, this is now officially the best I've ever done in a cEDH tournament here. So I'm up against Kinnan, Blue Farm, Ral, and then me, and I mulled the 3. So at this point, I'm just happy to be here. So my mull the 3 was a fetch land, Treasonous Ogre, and then Mox Diamond, which I honest to God thought was a second fetch land instead, which was a huge bummer. So on turn 1, I just play my land. I surveil some shit to the graveyard that I don't want. Everyone's like kind of slowly building out their board. Ral kind of tries to go off, but isn't really able to keep anything going. I had like eventually found the 1 mana thing that sacrifices for a mana of any color. So I had 2 mana in play for a little while, which I was like, I'm so much closer, but it still wouldn't have been Treasonous Ogre. But after, even another turn of no one really being able to do too much, I draw Mana Vault, and I'm like, this is exactly what I was waiting for. The land at the bottom doesn't even matter. I have this Mox Diamond here. I cast Mana Vault, cast Treasonous Ogre, and I get Natali. I get to say that's a chunky, and I get a terrible shit. It's like, I just get more mana. I don't really get to go into anything. So then Kinnan on their turn plays Phyrexian Metamorph to copy Atali.
Oh, God.
Which is like, all right, here it comes. This is the nightmare scenario. Ral couldn't win. Now no one has anything for Kinnan here. Their Atali is way better. It flips into their Wandering Archaic, which ends up giving him the confidence then to cast the Basalt Monolith that he had in hand too. Yeah. By the way, while I Atali'd, there was a Rhystic Study in play. Kinnan had Clever Impersonated, a Mystic Remora that Blue Farm had. Like, everyone had card advantage. I was just feeding so much to so many people, which is part of the reason why like no one could actively win. But the Wandering Archaic felt like putting a defense grid, putting a silence right into play, basically.
Right, because every counterspell now, the Wandering Archaic just copies it, right? Especially
exactly.
If everyone's on so low mana they can't pay the 2 mana.
People are tapped out at that point. They were just relying on like the free interaction that they had or something. So
which is why I think Wandering Archaic is still so good in Atali, because in your deck it's not as much of a mid-range card as it is kind of like a defense grid. It's like counter protection for your shit.
Yeah,
right?
I have been sad seeing it in like openers recently.
I
However, it's done a lot for me when it is in play because of just like how much you can use it as a political tool and like get your opponents to use interaction in spots where they normally wouldn't, to give you the opportunity to remove something else too, because that's just extra value. When you don't know, you're like kind of backhandedly setting yourself up for a win the whole time.
Right, and it's less interaction out of their hand. They're using interaction early, and now it's not in their hand. They
now
can't use
I
it
can
against
Twin
you.
Flame Atali when I spin into it.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's kind of how that went. Then Kinnan cast Basalt Monolith. They can just win the game from there. I think they had to like get a Hull Breacher out too. Like there was a couple other steps they had to do, but it was a clear victory at that point from there.
That's still, I feel like you still like put up an Atali you almost had it. Like I still felt like it was a probably good game.
Yeah, it was a shame that my biggest mulligan of the day was down to 3 in the finals. But like I had a mull to 4 win on my winning in, so like I knew that like the mulls were working out for me, even though like it was just a lot of draws. But I didn't lose a game until we got to the finals.
That's pretty sick. I heard, speaking of mulligans, I heard the Blue Farm player, Aiden, he mulliganed to 2 in his top 16 pod.
This was crazy.
And kept land, and won the game.
Yeah, that was wild. Oh my God.
I don't know. You guys see he found, what's the new...
He found Voice of Victory.
Yeah, Voice of Victory into Timna and was able to just like claw back into the game and then win after that.
When you're on a mold of 2, no one cares that you have Voice of Victory.
Right.
You don't have spells to cast that can't be countered. That was wild, yeah.
Overall, it was a great tournament. I think it went really well. All of my pods were super fun. I thought for the most part, everyone was super cool, and it was a great experience overall. So thank you all for coming. It was super cool. We're going to do another one in January. We haven't announced it yet, but there will be another one. Play to win cEDH Tournament Cloud 10.
And we should say that the winner was Big Bear, who actually won the Steel City event with Atali before, and it was now on Kitten this time.
Yeah, the 20K Atali player also won our 90-person tournament as well with Kitten. What else do you got? Any other final thoughts on the day?
No, it's just that Atali is my best performing cEDH tournament deck, and I had to get so lucky in a lot of times, but like, from the way that cEDH tournaments are set up now, draws are worth 1 point, and I'm going to take that to my advantage that like, I can scare the table into wanting to draw, or I don't know, just like getting into scenarios where it makes drawing worth it.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. I think being aggressive right now is very good for tournaments right now because it gives you the opportunity to win on turn 2 if you're in seat 1 when you need to, but it also gives you the opportunity to kind of like force weird political situations to make your opponents not be able to win the game either.
Yeah.
So that everyone has to take a draw, which
like
I think
when
is good.
when you have a known win going into your 3rd turn and everyone goes, well, I can't win right now, so we have to try to do something. Like,
right, yeah.
It might stink that you can't get that win, but it's better that you get the draw instead of having someone windfall you so you wouldn't get the win anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So I think Tournament cEDH is in a really cool spot right now. My takeaway was communication is more important now than ever. Talking about your lines, talking about what the threat is, just like communicating with your opponents. And like, it can get tough because I do understand that certain players have a harder time doing that, being confrontational. There's a lot that goes into it, but I think it's a cool aspect of cEDH and tournament magic. And I'm excited to kind of do more of it, I guess, in the future. The talking aspect has been a lot more fun for me recently.
Yeah, I agree. Like the poker aspects of it, of like
stuff.
more bluffing. It was something that like I was never as good as in like my 60 card career, but I feel like the applications in Commander are a little bit kind of like less nuanced, I want to say, if that makes sense. Like it doesn't have to be picking up a pen or something like that. I can use like more words and like kind of talk with the table a little bit more to make sure that like no one's missing anything, and it's made me like learn a lot more about the game because people are more willing to tell you about like lines that they know about other decks because they have experience. So I think it's been an overall positive effect for cEDH in general.
Like something that I've been taking away recently is like in tournaments a lot of times I'm not going to counter a win condition unless I have word from the other players of what they're doing. Do you know what I mean? Like if I'm going to counter someone's thing just for you to untap and win, just won't do that. I'll just let them win instead. Basically, it makes it so that like all counter spells like allow you to like get information out of people. Like we had a situation the other day in a locals game where I knew a player was going for a win. I had a way to stop it. You said I have nothing to do about this, but I do have a deflecting swat. So I have this. So now I know that you have deflecting swat. So I know that I can swap it, but I know that my way to stop you potentially was to besage you, and you have a deflecting swat for my besage you. So now I know that my interaction is not great against you. So I don't want to use my silence while the other player is casting a silence anymore because now my besage you against you isn't good. So I have to make a quick deal with you. I'll cast silence here while this other player is going for a silence. And in exchange, you don't win on your turn. And you go, yep, I won't win on my turn. And I go, fuck, that means you have Born Upon the win. But it's fine because now you have to spend 2 mana and try to win on my turn.
I don't get VV activations as part of my win either.
And now I get to untap my lands when you go for a win, and I have other interaction that I won't be able to use because I'm tapped out. So you say, I won't go for a win on my turn. You say that. So then I cast a silence. The silence goes through. The player who was casting their own silence then can't do anything, so they pass a turn. You just land, pass, and go to me, and then you have to win on my turn, and now it's way more difficult for you, and I'm playing Sisse, and I was able to win the game.
And I'm okay with this.
If you didn't make that deal, I'm not countering the silence.
And then I can't win either way, right?
Because I know I have besaged you for that Tim Nadargo player who's casting a silence. So I still have something that I could potentially do to stop them, but it's risky, and I know it's risky. So I know the right play is to cast a silence, but only if I'm going to have a better shot at beating you, right? Otherwise, a loss is a loss. I don't care who I lose to.
Yeah, exactly. I've loved that philosophy in cEDH recently is I don't care who I lose to. If I don't win, it doesn't matter.
If it's you or you, I'm not going to stop you just to lose to the next person. You know I'm
Yeah,
going to make sure that no one else can win and I can win instead.
Yeah, exactly. That's the only thing I care about is trying to win. I don't care that I fed someone 100 cards to do it. If I don't win, then
Right, exactly.
or if I win, then they can have 100 cards in their hand. I still won.
You basically made them discard 100 cards if you drew them 100 cards and they couldn't interact with you.
That's
right?
such good value.
If they can't use the cards in their hand by the end of the game, you effectively made them discard all those cards, right?
Dude, that's why Cyclonic Rift is still so good. Is because when you bounce someone's board and they have to discard 5 things, not only did you tempo them for like 8 spells, but you also hard removed 3 other permanents from their deck too.
I had another situation where I think I fucked up against Tyler, where I had a situation where his Kinnan build is a little bit different recently, and there's not as many big flips in it, but in my head, I still wanted to play around it as if there was going to be something horrible like the Tusk thing that's going to fight all my Sisay things or whatever. So I had a situation where he gets a Seedborn Muse in play, but he's completely tapped out and Hellbent, and I have an option to Cyclonic Rift at his end step. But if I do that means I have to crack a Lotus Petal, which means I can't activate Sisay anymore. So I do the Cyclonic Rift. But instead of doing that, I think what I should have done is just find Selvala in the end step, and then on my turn, try to win the game, and Tyler can activate Kinnan 2 times, and maybe hit Gilderdrake, but maybe not. There's not as many things for him to hit.
Make him have it.
But instead, I stop him, but it also puts me behind, and then I'm not able to win on my turn anymore, and I have to pass, and I need more time, and eventually the game gets away from him, not able to win, where I think if I had just went for it, I could have just gone for it.
Yeah, like if that was your one window, you now no longer have that window. You're giving the window to the next 2 players because Tyler's going to go again before you have the chance to go.
Yeah, and I think I got too afraid of Seedborn Muse, but like Seedborn Muse with Kinnan is way different than Seedborn Muse with Thrasios. Kinnan is not drawing counter spells or anything. They're just finding a couple creatures to put in play, right? Whereas like...
Yeah, and a lot of times now, the creatures aren't going to be you can't even or something like that.
Exactly, yeah. So, but yeah, I don't know why I got on that rant, but communication or something. How long are we going? Oh, an hour and 15. Let's cut it.
Oh, fuck.
Thanks so much for watching. If you'd like to support us directly, you can do so on Patreon, like our $100 patrons.
Wandering Around, Tom Bieber, Cumulative Upkeep MTG, Nathan Cohen, Mr. Jerby, Okie Toad, Penguin Man 0089, Eli the Magic Guy, David Newman, Johnny Denver, Omelet, Rocky Hall, Pat Fire, Spengler, Demetrius Clark, Larson Roy, Jorber, Blue, Sparky Beat, Insomnia, Essie Phillip, Holden Groupie, Zach Hartley, Big Things, Banjo, Reactive, Sean on the S, Gerber, Garrett, Mace the Ace, Alex Smith, Luke Cook, Connor Sipon, Joshua Day, Corner, Wild, Knuckle Butts, Noosh, Quadja, Hamid, Scott Hawkin, Baby Jeebus.
If you'd like to pick up any of our merch, you can do that at playtowinmtg.com.
Thank you, Dragon Show, for supporting the show. Use code PlayToWin5 at our affiliate link down below for 5% off.
Follow us on the internet for more content.
Thank you for watching.
See you next time.
I'm not Nathan. Mike H. McSaucy, Max McComber, Meta, Ben Finelli, Jason Brooks, Safarius, Ash Wayne, Sarcastic, Mystic Muffin Man, Zachary Coulson, Dalton Pote, Justin Yan Wildfang, Thomas Bueno, and David Nelson.